Hello, it's us again. Thanks for joining us, listener. How are you doing this week? So, you may have already realised you are listening to My Surrogacy Journey, the podcast season 2. And we're taking you on a journey of education and surrogacy storytelling, and I am Michael, one of your hosts.
And I'm Wes. Hello. Thank you for downloading us again. It's good to be back with you. And for those of you that are new here, welcome.
This season's sponsor is the wonderful team at Herts and Essex Fertility Centre.
And we love the team at Herts and Essex Fertility Centre.
We do. They take immense pride in providing medical services of the highest calibre, tailored to suit the individual needs of each patient. In a friendly, supportive, inclusive and caring environment, Herts and Essex Fertility Centre is a leading surrogacy clinic and was awarded Surrogacy Fertility Clinic of the Year in 2008 and 2022.
So me and Wes are your hosts here on the My Surrogacy Journey podcast. Sometimes you'll hear just one of us, but today we are treating your ears to both of us, as well as our lovely guest.
So today's episode is one of those that give you an insight to how the other half live, and perhaps pick up some tips and tricks too.
Yep. We're talking to the fantastic Sarah Williams from Payne Hicks Beach. She's one of our recommended family and surrogacy lawyers in our directory here at My Surrogacy Journey.
Sarah is a partner at Payne Hicks Beach and she's the head of the Modern Family Department. Sarah has expertise in fertility, surrogacy and adoption law, encompassing matters such as domestic and international surrogacy arrangements, donor conception and issues concerning parentage. In addition, Sarah has extensive experience in complex children law matters.
She's described as being brilliant on the law, able to process extremely complex material in a clear, concise and timely way, and by the Legal 500 as a standout individual. Hello.
Hi, very nice to be here.
It's so lovely to have you here.
That was an intro, wasn't it?
It was. Thank you very much.
You are very welcome.
Sarah, we don't speak to you often enough because I know how busy you are, so it's really lovely to get you in a room and to be able to talk about everything surrogacy.
Let's, for our lovely listener, let's tell them a little bit more about you and your firm, please.
Well, I've been practicing children and modern family law for a very long time. Maybe 17 years, something like that.
Wowzers.
So I started being a specialist in children law, and then as modern family law has developed, it was just a totally natural extension. And very much family creation is very much part of children law and parentage and where that falls. So it's something that I really enjoyed. And Payne Hicks Beach is a really old firm. So it started in 1770.
Oh my God.
It's in a beautiful square. It's still in the original building.
No way.
In Lincoln's Inn, right within the perimeters of Lincoln's Inn. It's actually called New Square, even though it was built in 1770. So we've been there a very, very long time, and we represent generations of families, dynastic families. We have big trust and estates department, landed estates, agriculture, immigration and citizenship. And then as times have moved on, we've, have privacy and media, reputation, modern families. We have a very famous family law department. So it's a very prestigious firm and you feel very privileged to work there.
And we feel privileged that we've got you here and in our directory supporting our members. So thank you. There's some great little facts in that already.
It is. And I'm really looking, I was always coming on the train here today, I was really looking forward to this podcast because I find it really fascinating. And I know there's some topics we're going to talk about and pick up later in the series, but like immigration as a prime example, I know that's one of the things that crops up really often on some of the calls that I have with people, people of mixed heritage, people who are not British nationals, on different types of visas. I think there's all lots of different complexities, particularly around international surrogacy and, coming back to the UK, as well as domestic surrogacy and how that impacts them, domicile status. I could go on and on and on and on.
And Wes does this, so you'll notice that Wes will.
You're absolutely right. That interconnection between creating your family, immigration, family law, which visa, how are you going to come back into the country with your baby, is a really big issue.
It is.
And it's often one that people don't consider, or they just
consider it too late.
Yep.
Yes, they're so in the present. They're so excited about building their family, understandably, that the other matters, the administrative matters, are actually just sort of not on their radar for reasons that completely understand. And then there's also tax considerations as well.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why I think this this episode is going to be so vital, because I think if it gives people a better insight at the start of their journey and some of the things that they need to tackle, then they may approach their journey differently and think about, I mean, as a lawyer, we always encourage, speak to a lawyer right at the start, understand what your journey looks like, understand some of those challenges so you can start mitigating them, talking about them and understanding them much, much earlier.
Absolutely. And if you've got multiple nationalities and you travel a lot, you have the world to choose from. Where do you want to have your baby?
So today we're going to be talking about some of the work that's done and give people a bit of an insight to those high-profile individuals that use surrogacy as a way to family build. And I hope that we're going to have some corkers and some classics and some fun facts really built into the podcast to give people like us a bit of an insight to how the other half live and how they build their family through surrogacy. So let's just start with a bit more. We know you're a specialist firm and the credentials speak for themselves. Why do you think people choose PHB as their family law firm?
Well, often we've represented their grandparents. We have been the go-to firm for generations. So it's it's just part of their phone book.
Yeah.
And so that's very nice because, you know, you have that shared history with a family and that's very important, and it's ongoing trust, and you may know several members of their family. So that's very special. And other people will come because they've been referred, or we hold their tax affairs or trust affairs. So the fact that it's a full service firm actually feeds into every department. And people come obviously because they know they get a very special level of advice.
Without a doubt. Wes, do you want to go into the next one?
Yeah. No, I was just like...
Wes is like really in already.
No, I was like really engaged in it, and I'm just trying to process that, and absolutely that, because it is such a personal matter, isn't it? You know?
It's a hugely personal matter, and there's nothing more intimate than how are you going to create your family and who do you want to share that information with?
Yeah, especially if you're in the public eye as well.
Absolutely, extremely intimate. It's extremely private. Some people want to share it. Other people can't imagine anything worse. And so discretion is extremely important.
And I would have thought as well, when you're choosing your team, when you've got your family lawyer, I would imagine that there aren't many types of lawyers that you then do switch, because once you've found that person that you trust and that has either worked for your family for generations or has helped you through a very tricky situation, I'd imagine that you become very loyal to that lawyer and you to that family.
And you know their situation, so you're not overburdening them with asking for instructions. You just know how they operate. You know the principal points of contact within the family. So it becomes a very symbiotic relationship.
And do you often work with the person engaging with you, or do you work with their people? How does...
Yeah, so it can be a combination of both, but we deal with a lot of family offices.
Okay.
That's where a family member or a family is they will have their own personal family office. And that's full of advisors, and they tend to be very skillful advisors. They'll be predominantly tax advisors, so very high level wealth management, accountants, but they're not family lawyers. So they come to you for the specialist advice. And how will parentage fall? How does this affect the line of succession, for example? What are the tax implications? What passport is going to come out of this? Do we want that passport? No, we don't. So it's all those sort of considerations. So that's the family office, or you maybe if it's somebody in the media, you may be dealing with an agent. And they have with the greatest of respect, they have no idea whatsoever about family law. So you have to be very careful in terms of not overloading incredibly busy people that have a hectic schedule. They just want to build their family. They don't want to know the ins and outs of complex international law.
No.
It's on a needs-to-know basis.
Totally.
And I suppose with some of these big family offices, you're talking about, the impact of, like you just mentioned, the passport could have massive tax implications.
Huge.
Or could have massive implications.
Yes.
Inheritance. I never really understood the magnitude of some of these decisions.
Yeah.
When you are talking about ultra net worth and big family estates, it's a massive consideration.
It's a very real consideration, and that's why you feel very privileged to work. You literally have the tax, immigration, media and privacy department within the same firm. So we're all on message. What do we want to achieve?
So fascinating.
I think we need to set up a family office.
I wish we had a family office. Don't think we're quite there
I
yet.
think that's Mary.
Yeah, Mary's our
You
family.
need about 15 people and then you'll be all right.
Let's just pretend we've got a family team.
Yeah.
I almost feel like the questions that we wanted to talk about can go out of the window because I'm already thinking of other ways this can move. But let's
keep the script.
let's keep. It's not normally me that goes off topic. Go on, Wes.
But what are some of the considerations that, like this, either the family offices, the private individual? What are some of the considerations that they need from you?
Well, certain things that are totally taken for granted is that they're going to receive excellent advice, and it's going to be holistic advice, so that we're not advising in silos, in effect. So we are not the family, then the immigration, then the tax and estates and will planning. All of those things you have to do in a line. You may also want to talk about prenups or postnups if you're dealing with embryos. So you have to say, what is it that you want to achieve and how can we get there?
Wow.
Yeah, you didn't even think about the prenups.
No, not at all. Have we got prenups? No, we have no prenups.
And also which jurisdiction, because,
Sure.
if you've got multiple homes, which is the most preferable? Where are you domiciled?
Yeah.
Which is a huge question.
Yeah.
This will be diluted once the law reform, if the proposals come in, because
that's going to change.
the criteria of being domiciled will be reduced to
Will that help
residence. I think it will make an enormous difference. If you have a high-profile individual who is here for a short period of time, you don't want to say they're domiciled if they're not domiciled.
No, they might be in LA for a big portion of the year.
And it's an intention to permanently remain. That's a really high bar for people.
Yeah.
And now people are moving all the time with work, socially. So actually the dilution to being habitually resident will make an enormous difference.
Fascinating.
Nice segue in there to capture in the future as well.
Yes, and you've got so many countries in Europe, so France, Germany, Spain, where surrogacy is actually really challenging. You may get the biological parent, recognition of parent, but for the second parent having to adopt, it can take years. It's a really unsatisfactory legal position. And if you're high net worth, you just don't want any queries at all over parentage. That is your line of succession. That's everything.
Yeah.
So it may be that if you have options, you do want to explore where can I establish parentage the quickest. That's a huge consideration.
It is, and I think giving that advice, given all of the dynamics of that specific case is invaluable to that person, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, really
absolutely.
It really is. So we know that you are no stranger to those and helping those that are in the public eye, that want your expert advice, your knowledge, the access to that incredible team that obviously works with you. Can you give us sensitively a bit of a look into, or some inside knowledge to how maybe the other half live, and what does that look like? Let's explore that a little bit.
I think it's the sheer number of people that are involved in an individual's life. So you're talking about very intimate matters, but you rarely speak to somebody on their own without a family advisor, the family office, their agent. You'll find that you're organising a conference and you'll need, 6 or 8 chairs in the room, even though you've got one client.
Wow.
And then they may come with a security detail. So that's something that is just part and parcel of their life. So it's the sheer number of people that you are dealing with, and just operating on very, very tight lines of discretion and making sure that...
NDAs must be a common thing in your world now.
Absolutely.
And is a lot of the interaction through technology, or do you have to visit their homes, or do they come to you?
Yes, so we'll accommodate. So we'll go to their homes if that's more reasonable, or if they're just incredibly busy, it suits them to go to their home. Absolutely, we'll go to their home. Otherwise, it's a lot of encrypted messaging services like WhatsApp or Telegram.
Cool.
Email maybe, phone calls. But you have to grab people when you can grab people.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
And
I'm just
and
in
taking
my
the
head.
time zones.
Of course,
Exactly the time zones. In my head, I'm just thinking Succession, the program Succession. Michael doesn't watch it, but I
don't
do.
watch
And
it.
it just
We're
like,
obsessed with this program.
I was obsessed with it.
Do you watch it as well?
Absolutely.
but that's in my head. That's what I'm thinking. Is that right?
Well, obviously, that's a program with huge power struggles and some really unpleasant individuals. But the idea of those diagnostic families is is something we deal with.
Wow.
Love it. I don't want this one to end. When someone engages with you, what are the general requests tend to be like? Because I'm assuming when someone finds you, they know the type of person that you are and who you deal with. What are the deal breakers or requests that your clients will give you?
I think it's efficiency. It's knowing you want to do it this way, we'll do it this way. It's the accommodation of particular requests, and we can make it happen. We know people in so many jurisdictions.
Yeah.
And I suppose your firm has built up such a global connection with people that they need to facilitate whatever's appropriate or needed for your client.
Yeah, and also if you're dealing with third parties, how you guarantee that ongoing discretion and confidentiality, which is hugely important.
And
you're
huge
very
concern
protective
for them.
Absolutely, you're very, very protective of your client.
Yeah,
and you want to ensure that respect is given all the way through. But you might get some odd requests, like
can we have some little? Give us a tiny.
You might get some odd requests. I mean, maybe it's not that odd now, but I remember the sort of requests coming, particularly from clients that travel globally and very influenced by the American egg donor and surrogacy market as it was emerging, and the sort of need to have a Ivy League scholar donor.
Yeah. And you still see that to a degree.
Yeah,
You do. I think it's diluted, and I think the more influence or wealth you have, then the more potential you can request and make sure that you get exactly what you want.
Yes, and I suppose it's that used to being in control of your life. And surrogacy, as we all know, is something which requires a huge amount of patience. There's a very limited amount you can control.
Yeah, that's a good question, actually, Sarah. How do you? So a lot of these people, they're not used to know. They get what they want when they want it. It all happens exactly as they want it. It's like you just mentioned, surrogacy is a very dynamic situation. How do you or they deal with that scenario where they're out of control, they're relying on other people?
It's very much managing expectations right from the very beginning. Never offering false hope is really important. It is as you say, totally dynamic. Often there's enormous pregnancy loss. Single individuals are often just desperate to have that family. Heterosexual couples are coming from a huge place of loss, often cancer, illness, multiple pregnancy failures, and same-sex couples are just desperate to start their family. So whatever situation individuals are in, it's just, let's just try our very best. But there's only so much we can control.
Yeah.
And I suppose extra care is taken with gametes become hugely precious.
Yeah.
For everybody. This isn't just about high net worths. I mean,
No.
for everybody, it's a hugely private, intimate, very stressful process. But taking care, being really sensitive, but sending the message that be patient.
Yeah.
Be
It's not a
patient.
sprint.
It is not a sprint. Absolutely. That may be one thing that you just can't control.
Yeah. Now, you've been involved in surrogacy for a number of years now. What are some of the things that you really enjoy about surrogacy?
Well, I mean, the other side of my practice is often very contentious,
Yeah.
long-running, international, high-profile disputes. And as much as you want those to settle and be resolved, sometimes you just have to wait for the court hearing. So surrogacy is something where you just, when the joy happens of a baby, there's nothing like it.
No.
It isn't law at that stage. It's something else.
It's a different celebration,
It
isn't it? Rather than the cases that you must have to, endure that take time and where children are, at that core of where is this child going to reside or be with,
Yes.
or what does that look
Yes.
like?
Yes.
A surrogacy case is clearly the joy
Yeah.
in
And the
that
child
side.
is so wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
And
the
I
love
suppose-
is overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I suppose, like us, you've been working with them right from the start. I mean, you've been on that journey with them right from
Yes.
the start to get
Yes.
to the end point. Must
Yes.
be
The loss, the highs are high and the lows are very low.
Of course. And we mentioned Fiona, who is renowned within that disputes element. For our listener now, tell us a bit more about Fiona. Give us some insights.
Well, she's just the most famous divorce lawyer in England.
I think you only have to Google
Yeah.
her to see the extent of the people that she's
Represented.
And
I think I remember a case where wasn't like a jug of water involved in.
yeah, I think
Yes.
that was a particular musician, I believe, and someone else. And there's been royalty and all sorts. It's just her credentials are phenomenal.
Yeah, we'd love to get her on a podcast.
Oh my word, could you imagine? She probably couldn't even talk to us. But anywho, let's tie it back to surrogacy. It's still the same wherever it's managed and how it's managed. But are you seeing any particular trends at the moment or emerging destinations with surrogacy that might be concerning you or just something that you're definitely seeing
Or that your clients are asking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question because the US used to be so sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that used to be, there was no other destination that you'd even consider.
Yeah, sure.
If you have the means and you just want a professional contractual surrogacy relationship, or even if you want a sort of more intimate relationship, the fact that the US was just so set up for that.
So oiled, just worked.
Absolutely. It was a tried and tested, early parentage. That's what everybody was after.
Yeah.
And available surrogates. Independent, all the checks and balances were there. But what has been happening in America has caused a lot of consternation. States like Florida, for example, are not the destinations that they used to be.
No.
There's very restrictive abortion laws there now, and that has implications for IVF. It's not about abortion; it's about the whole fertility cycle and the eligibility of same-sex couples for IVF. So there's huge ramifications. So I think there are shifting sands in America that people are keeping their eye on. So I think California will still be is doing everything it can to protect its reputation. But I'm very interested to hear about your Mexico City because this is really exciting. There are other destinations like Ukraine. Nobody, that's just terrible what's happening there. But nobody's going to go to Ukraine or
Well, you'd
Georgia.
hope to think they wouldn't be re-engaging, but people are. And that's and obviously with the recent news of the changes happening in Georgia.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I think what's really struck me over the last year is how dynamic the global surrogacy pathway is and how it can just change very, very rapidly. And I think there aren't, a massive amount of destinations globally that you can use.
No, that's right.
But it's ever changing. I mean, like the changes in Georgia just came out of the blue and we weren't expecting them. No. And that's having a massive impact on a global level.
Yes. Yeah. It isn't just Georgia.
No.
All those intended parents that have travelled, invested and are waiting for their baby.
And it impacts places like Cyprus, where a lot of the surrogates are from Georgia, and
Greece. A lot of the surrogates in Greece come from Georgia.
Yes.
So the ramifications.
It does ripple out.
It really does.
And does have an effect on it.
And I think there is that side where people are, at those emerging jurisdictions, as you say, you'll get surrogates in Greece, but in fact they're from Georgia.
Yeah.
So it's doing real due diligence as to what is the end chain, how does that look? So everybody you're dealing with is a responsible partner so that there's no exploitation.
And asking the question about what is the jurisdiction of this surrogate?
Absolutely.
Where are they?
Absolutely.
And will they be? Where are they giving birth?
Yeah, because
absolutely.
I have this a lot with Cyprus, and a lot of same-sex couples use Cyprus as an option for varying reasons, but they don't assume their surrogate is from Cyprus.
Yes.
And that's not the case.
No,
and
it's not.
What you have to understand is the wider implications here, so that, for whatever reason, if your surrogate does give birth in Georgia,
you have a problem on your hands.
You are not going to get your baby. There's a very complex problem there.
Hugely
and one which
complex.
could have been avoided if you'd have understood
absolutely
what the implications of using a Georgian surrogate are.
Absolutely. And it's the whole passport. How are you going to extract your your baby from Georgia? How long is it going to take for you to complete that legal process?
If you can complete it at all, because you're a
Absolutely.
same-sex couple where
Yes.
surrogacy is
Yes.
illegal in that country.
And you're so it's again, it's that blinkered blind. You just aren't in that space because you're just thinking in the here and the now.
Absolutely.
And that's a perfect reason why you should get legal advice right from the start, so that you understand that the route that you're planning to take, what are the impacts, and the lawyer would help you understand all of those. And this is not as beating the drum saying you've got to go get a lawyer, but it's the most sensible approach.
But it kind of is saying that, really.
It is, but it's like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, agreed.
It's your baby.
Totally.
And you just want you want to have your baby in a safe environment,
Totally.
and then you want to be able to bring your baby home.
Yep.
Totally.
And it's how are you going to do that? And I think it's very hard for people that have come from loss or they're desperate for a baby. The last thing they want to do is navigate complex international laws. There's no harmonisation at all.
Not at all. And there's no empathy from certain jurisdictions for that either.
No.
This was a planned event.
Yes.
If you haven't got your shit together.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That is it.
That is it.
That is it. But you are doing amazing work in raising the awareness through the foundation and through the learning and the resources and the podcasts.
Thank you.
No, but it's fantastic.
Thank you very much.
And it helps people navigate, actually, this is not right for me, but this one is right for me.
And that's what it's all about.
There's a right path for everyone, but we need to find out which is the right path for you. And
Absolutely.
make sure you consider all of the elements to know that that's the right path.
And we've met some incredible people along the last 6-7 years of us, being parents through this method. And what better way to share all of our contact?
Well, it's very brave. You're always very, it's very disarming how you share your intimate story.
Yeah.
And I think people really respect that
that's really.
and learn from it.
Well, let's hope so.
So, Sarah, what about PJs? Tell me about PJs. Does anyone ever send a
Wes
PJ
is
for you?
obsessed with private jets.
Well, so if you are bringing your baby back on your private jet, which, it doesn't have the problems, as we were talking about last week, where you need to buy 3 tickets necessarily going out.
Yeah.
You have to buy that seat for that baby, even on your outbound as well as your...
So we're talking about commercial there, aren't
Commercial,
we?
Commercial, yeah. That's what us commoners have to do.
If you're on your private jet, you don't need to worry about that. But what you will do is you'll come in through the VIP lane at Heathrow. So I, as your lawyer, will write and say you're going through the process of a parental order application, and you'll forewarn the immigration authorities in advance with the tail number of the jet.
PJ, wow. It's all going on, isn't it?
It's a very smooth path.
Oh, my word.
This is the world I want to live in.
It really is.
I'm obsessed with PJ.
That is a corker. Final question.
Yeah, final question.
Which I don't want this one to end with. This has been a really great discussion. Give us a fun fact. Tell us something that we might not know about surrogate. Anything you want. You go for it.
Well, this is very niche. And it only really affects sort of those with a peerage or a baronetcy. There may not be many.
You never know.
It is something that's not very well known. If you have a child through a donor egg or through a licensed clinic, that will be your legitimate child if you're a commoner, in effect. And if you have a child via surrogacy. But if you have a title and you have a child by surrogate, then the title won't be passed on. So that has really significant consequences.
Wow. Not an issue for me and you, Wes.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
We could be bestowed a peerage at some point, couldn't we?
Yeah, we could actually. Let's
Keep
A hereditary
going,
one.
keep
It could be the king might bestow us with one. You never know.
You never know. Yeah, let's be positive. So you could not. You're a lord or a lady. That title would be just not be passed down to that child.
It just for succession purposes, no. So that's something to bear in mind.
And the implications on estate, on inheritance,
Yes.
it's huge.
Huge.
Wow, that
I
is
wonder if we could change that.
That needs changing. I
does
mean,
need
it's
changing. He's
totally
bringing up to-
discriminatory.
right.
Maybe we
Fiona,
should have spoken
if
to
you're
the Royal Commission
listening,
on that, shouldn't we?
Baroness Shackleton.
Yeah.
Let's get that one dealt with.
Yes, we should, most definitely.
Amazing. This has been so much fun.
Yeah, thank you,
It's been
Sarah. We
great.
really
Thank you
appreciate
so
your
much.
time. It's been lovely to listen to all of those elements. And look, it's such a... I think it's a topic that people just naturally wouldn't have thought about.
But are really interested to hear
really
about.
interesting. Yeah. I think it's a really good one.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Isn't she just fabulous?
She was. I always knew she was going to be. And I can't tell you, but my favourite bit of
I know what your favourite part
it
was.
is all about the PJs. All about the PJs. I find it so fascinating.
For those of you that know and love Wes, you'll know that he is obsessed, one, with that TV show that he mentioned, but also with the lives and the private jet lifestyle. So anyway, if you want to find out more about My Surrogacy Journey and understand the breadth of the directory that contains experts like the wonderful Sarah Williams and our completely unique membership, then please head over to our website, www.mysurrogacyjourney.com, or you can find us over on Instagram, official My Surrogacy Journey.
If you like this episode, then subscribe to the series and we'll have another episode coming for you weekly.
This season's sponsor is the wonderful team at Hearts and Essex Fertility Centre.
And we love the team at Hearts and Essex Fertility Centre.
We do. They take immense pride in providing medical services of the highest calibre, tailored to suit the individual needs of each patient. In a friendly, supportive, inclusive and caring environment, Hearts and Essex Fertility Centre is a leading surrogacy clinic and was awarded Surrogacy Fertility Clinic of the Year in 2008 and 2022.
Thanks for listening. We've been My Surrogacy Journey, the podcast.
And we're your hosts. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.